Erev Tov, welcome to the Netivot Shalom Shir. We're going to be talking about one of the Divrei Torah from the Netivot Shalom on this week's Parsha, which is Vayishlach. We have the story in this Parsha of Yaakov finally, after all these years, meeting up with Esau, and Esau is coming to greet him with 400 people with him. And Yaakov is frightened frightened of this encounter, and he divides his camp into two. And he then wrestles with the Malach, with the angel all night. The end of which the Malach, who is Esau's angel, says, "Your name will not be Yaakov anymore, but it will be Yisrael, because you were able to successfully fight against man and against a spiritual being." And then Hashem himself says to Yaakov, and that's where we're going to pick up right now. He says that your name will be Yisrael. But then, as part of this process, Yaakov says, "Hatzileni no miyad achi miyad Esau." Please save me from the hand of my brother and from the hand of Esau. And of course, the question is asked by Netivot Shalom, why the double language, and what was he worried about? So let's read the Netivot Shalom. It is on page Reish Chof Beit, 222 of the book on Bereshit. Vayomer Yaakov Elokei Avi Abraham, Elokei Avi Yitzchak, and so on. And Yaakov said, "My God, the God of my fathers, God of my father Abraham, the God of my father Yitzchak, Hatzileinu b'yad achi b'yad Esau, save me from the hand of my brother, the hand of Esau. Ki yorei anochi oso, because I am afraid, pen yavo v'yikani eim halbonim, that he will come and destroy the mother with the children." Tzorach Bir, the Netivot Shalom says, we have to understand what the Meforshim explain. Why does it say biyad twice? Biyad achi and biyad Esau. Biyad achi biyad Esau shayu dai b'omru biyad achi Esau. It would have been enough to say from the hand of my brother Esau. V'yesh lamar ha'inyan ayidei ha'avoda dahine ksiv vayira Yaakov ba'od. It says Yaakov was very fearful. V'yetzer lo, and he was trying to come up with a solution. And he divided the people, his families, into two camps. Vayomer, he says, if Esau comes to one of these camps and destroys it, the other one will be able to flee. So what was he afraid of? He wasn't afraid of the physical aspect of Esau. He wasn't afraid of Esau killing him. He was afraid of the Sitra Achar, the other side, the Yetzer Hora, represented by Esau, Shabo Kenegdo, that would come against him with great powers. His fears were more substantiated when his messengers came and told him that Esau and 400 people are coming with him. He saw in that all of the chariots of the unclean were coming to do away with the holiness. That's why he was so worried. Inyan, v'yachatz etzam l'shnei machanot, and the thing that says he'll divide the. Hello, what happened here? He'll divide the. Sorry, lost my screen. He'll divide the camp into two camps. Do you still see the sheet on yours? No. Okay. Okay. Here we are.
Now it's you.
Yeah. Now it's back. Why did he divide the camp into two? The people of the two camps. They're the two. They're representing the two aspects of serving Hashem. So what are the two aspects? There's one camp that serves Hashem, where everything you do is totally for the service of God. You're not at all concerned with the material things in this world. Your whole focus is only on serving God and studying Torah and fulfilling the Torah. Kedivre Rav Shimon Bar Yochai Shomru Chazal say Zeh Harbe Asuk Rav Shimon Bar Yochai below also biyadam. Many people try to do what Rav Shimon Bar Yochai did to be able to completely leave the materiality of this world and only have a spiritual life, but they're not able to do so. Mishum, why? Sheyetzahor miskaber b'miyuchad eitzah nashim gedolim lahakel b'hem machshavos upnios sheyetzlam b'kardom lachfor ba. Because the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is so great on these people that are trying to become great that the Yetzer Hara is like a spade digging into them and keeping them from reaching this level of greatness. But the second camp, they also went in a simple way. They dealt with matters of this world. But they were able to combine both. They were able to combine both the service of God and the study of Torah and the recognition that you're in this world. You have to deal with both worlds. The Rebbe said, the world is full of those things that Hashem lets us acquire. The earth is full of things that we can acquire. Everything that we do in this world, you're able to acquire God through eating, through drinking. Every bodily necessity, you can raise it up to a level of acquiring God. This is referred to by the second camp that is not completely gotten out of this materialistic world. But nonetheless, even though they're in this world, doing the things in this world, doing the things that benefit their body, that fulfill their desires, nonetheless, they're doing them in order to fulfill in order to give pleasure to God, to fulfill His ratzon, His will. And because of that, he says, if Esau comes to this camp and smites it, then the second one will be able to flee. The chsiv, where it says amachta achas means one camp that is only connected to Hashem, that doesn't see anything of materiality. It's only Torah and mitzvah and avoda. Hainu amachta hamoed yotzele pronos. That's the camp that suffers most punishment. Hem elu hamisaskim gam b'inyanim agashmim. Those that deal with the materiality. Shem yoter b'sakana lipo biad yetzer. Those that are in the camp where you're dealing with things in this world, you are more likely and more danger of falling under the hand of the Yetzer Hara, under Esau, because as you're trying to go up, Esau sees that he needs to keep you back from doing it. Says B'Shem Rav Kodesh, Rav Zev, Zibritz. That's how he said, Shem Sha'al Limod HaTorah Amru Chazal. Regarding studying the Torah, our sages have said, La'olam Yasok B'Torah, you should always study Torah, Shalom Lishma, even though you're not doing it for the purpose of fulfilling the command of studying the Torah, but Shalom Lishma, Shematoch Shalom Lishma, Ba Lishma, because as long as you're studying, even though you start out with the wrong motives, and you're not doing it for the sake of studying Torah, from that you will come to Lishma. Kachu lehefach. So too, it's just the opposite things in this world. If you're doing things, you're trying to do things in this world for the Ratzon of Hashem, but out of that, Baal Lishlo Lishma can come to Lo Lishma because of what the Yetzer Hara will do to you. In the beginning, you do things Lishma for the sake of Torah, for the sake of fulfilling the commandment. You're doing everything for the purpose of God, for the purpose of heaven. And after that, you're starting out that way, you're starting on a high level, and all of a sudden, your desires get the best of you. But no, you fall into the trap of studying, doing mitzvahs, not lishma, and doing things only for yourself and not for Hashem. This explains the tefillah of Yaakov. Yomer, he says, Yomer Elokei Abi Abraham, Elokei Abi Yitzchak, the God of my father Abraham, the God of my father Yitzchak, Hatzleinam Yarachim Yad Esau, save me from the hand of my brother, the hand of Esau. The most important part of his tefillah was on the one camp, those that were dealing in this world, because they are in greater danger. Aleihem, he's Palel Yaakov, and it was on them that Yaakov asked and prayed to God, Hatzieinam Yad Achim Yad Esau, send me for my brother, for my brother Esau, save me from the hand of my brother and the hand of of Esau. Now the two languages, my brother and Esau. What does that mean? That teaches that at first, it's brotherly love. It's all good. It's whatever Esau is doing is for your benefit. So he appears as his brother. You're going to do everything lishma, just like Yaakov. After that, when Esau gets his grip into you, gets his hands into you, who nofel b'shlo lishma b'chinat Esau, you then fall off the path and are in the category of not doing things for the sake of God. And that's a danger that we have all the time. We have to be wary of somebody who is our enemy acting like our brother when really they want to stab us in the back. And you have to be wary of that, so that you're not in a situation of Hasileinam Yad Achim Yad Esau. People do things deceitfully. You think they're your friend and they're stabbing you in the back. It's interesting. That's why the Parsha of Balak, who was Balak? He was the king of Moab, who hated the Jews. He was a authentic anti-Semite. He didn't try to hide it. And the Parsha is named after one Perush says it's named after him because even though he was a wicked man and a Jew hater, he told the truth because truth is most important. And what is happening here is you have a wolf in sheep's clothing, so to speak. So that's why Yaakov is praying for this double thing. Don't let me be deceived, thinking that he's my brother here with brotherly love, when really he's Esau, and you can't hide that. Other explanation is he's praying about these two camps. From the hand of my brother who seems to be only doing things, who is only doing things for Torah and Avodah. Those that are doing things only with Torah, they're easily taken in and they'll fall for the ruse of my brother. At first, he will. It looks like he's going to help them with Torah and Avodah. After that, he puts different thoughts into them, bad thoughts into them that take them away from what they want to do. And that's why we say in the Tefillah, remove Satan, remove the Satan from us, from before we do something, who's trying to keep us from doing it, and after we do it, making us feel that what we've done is not worthwhile at all. What have you done? It's worthless. Come on, you don't have to waste your time doing that. Yeah, you think you're so great. You're such a sinner. One little thing, it's no big deal. So why bother? That's Satan Acharenu. So that's what Yaakov is praying for here. I said that. Because these are Torah's Avos, which says in the Torah's Avos, Avodas Habore, B'Shem Moras HaBakodesh Milchovich, the Rebbe of Milchovich said, Perish Tzonacham Miyad Gezerim, Guzim. The sheep want to be protected from the those who cut their hair. It's the way of the sheep. They first, they let the sheep grow his hair as long as it can. It looks like they're really being nice to the sheep, letting their hair grow, right? Today, what's the purpose of it? So that afterwards they'll be able to cut everything off in one moment. But this is what the Yetzer Hara does. The maniach v'tchila Yehudi la'asok b'Torah avodah. First, the Yetzer Hara lets you, encourage you to study Torah and to serve God properly. Why? So that in the end, when you're feeling good about yourself, then the Yetzer Hara comes in and takes everything away from you and makes you change in one moment. This is why we ask the sheep, we say that the sheep should be saved from the cutters of the hair. That's the tefillah of Yaakov, save me from my hand of my brother. Save the camp that is always doing Torah and Avodah, always serving you, and Yetzer Hara wants to convince you through things that he says or does to abandon that way. And the second camp that deals with material things, so that's direct request to save from the hand of Esau. In the beginning, their intent is for the sake of heaven. Ach libsof, but in the end, libsof noflim yad Esau lahanas atzmam. They fall into the trap of Esau to do that which gives them pleasure, without regard to whether it's God's will or not. And Yavo Vikani Emabonim, where it says, lest he come and smite the mother and the children. Aim Merumez Machshava. The word aim, mother, refers to the Machshava, to the thought process. Eitzel Machta Haoskim B'Toras Avos. Ikar Hitgabros Eitzahar B'Machshava. The greatest strength that the Eitzahar does is first on the Machshava. The Hatil Bohem Penios Vigius, to take away the desires to do good. Connect them bikesh pen yavo vikani aim. So therefore, the Yaakov says that we should keep Esau from being able to smite the mother. In other words, the machshava, the thought process. Babonim bikesh, on the children, he asks, al machna sheni, on the second camp, oski midani ol mazeh, those that work with things in this world, lo yiplavasim roim, that they shouldn't fall into evil ways. In other words, he's talking about both the machshava, the thinking part of a person, and then the avorim, which perform the thinking part. So he's asking for protection for both. The greatest problem is the mixing up of good and bad. So we no longer know what is good and bad because they're all mixed together. HaKadosh Baruch Hu asher bara es ha'or ves ha'choshev. Hashem created the light and the dark, ves ha'shalom ves hara, and peace and evil. Batov v'hara, good and evil, the mokram kulam yitzrei b'kapov. These are all God's creations. Come over Akasav Yishael, it says, Yotzer Or B'Orei Choshe, God created light and darkness. Oser Shalom B'Orei Ra, created peace, and he created evil. Ani Hashem Oser Kol Eila, I am God who did all these things. Ela Shebebrios Olam Hayu Hatov Hara Nifradim Zamizeh. The creation of the world, it wasn't meant that good and evil would be so intertwined that you can't know what the differences between one and the other. They were created separately. You knew what was good, you knew what was bad. And the evil was created only to give power to the good, to overpower the bad. And this is the problem with the Eitz Hadas, where Chava took from the Eitz Hadas. Because from that moment, when she took from the Eitz Hadas, the tree of knowledge, from that moment, there was a mixture of good and bad, where you didn't know what was good and what was bad. L'kach be'az, and therefore, yesh hisgabrut v'aklipa machmas shatov b'urav bara. That good is connected to the evil. This is the worst thing, because you don't know what to do. Good and evil are mixed up. It's confusing. What am I about to do? Is that really good, or is it really something bad? Only when Mashiach comes, then only will we be able to see the separation of good and evil. And the world will be able to come to its repair. It's when the whole spirit of uncleanliness will leave this earth. It's hinted at with what Chazal says, Mashiach will only come in the generation that completely merits it, or in the generation that is completely liable to be extinguished. the intent is this. What Mashiach is going to cure is going to once again put in a separation, so there won't be any confusion as to what is good and what is evil. It only comes when there's a generation where the people are either good or all bad. Because then there will not be any mixture of good and evil. Barak, and then you're able to come into the complete tikkun. They said this is the aspect of the klipa, the bad thing of Esau. Klipa is an outer covering. This reference refers to a bad outer covering. You want to get something. You want to get the fruit that's inside. It's covered by this klipa that's preventing you from getting the tasty fruit inside. So here we have this klipa of Esau. Eruv Tovra, he's mixing good and bad. The klipa of Esau is a mixture of good and bad. It's a chariot for both of these qualities of good and bad. From the point of carving out of it a good part. And also there's the foundation of evil. We have to find. Therefore, we find the Torah shebechol makom shekosum Esau kosum gam achi. We see whatever Esau is written, it's also written my brother. The Parsha Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefonav el Esau achiv. Yaakov sent messengers to Esau, his brother. Shalachur hariyadush asuhu achiv l'shem makasiv achiv. It's known. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. So Esau who achiv. Everybody knows Esau is brother, so why is it written again Esau? Achiv, brother. Why is it written brother? The Kosim is also written Yeshuva Malachim Yaakov Lemor Lano Achichu Esau. They came back. They said, "We came to your brother, to Esau." Harilo Hoyilo Ela Ach Echad. He only had one brother, right? Esau was only brother. What's this? Your brother Esau. Madog Sib El Esau. So why does it have to say that? Because Esau had within him the good part of being a brother, and the bad part of being Esau. This explains why Yitzchak loved Esau. Yitzchak only saw the good part of Esau. He didn't see the bad part. Esau used to come to him and ask questions that made him think he was completely pious Jew. He'd ask him, Abba, do you have to take master? Do you have to give a tenth on certain products that in a Torah you don't have to give a tenth of? Because Chelek Hara, Shabo Lora, the bad part of him, Yitzchak did not see. Mashenken Elohe Akulo Ra, if Esau was completely evil, Yitzchak wouldn't have loved him. Bikesh Yaakov, that's what Yaakov was asking. Save me from my brother, from Esau, from the hand of Esau. Klipa shall iruv, from the klipa of the mixing together of tov and ra, good and evil, which is the worst thing. This was the great fear of Yaakov. Yaakov was very frightened and distressed. Even though he just was successful in overcoming the wickedness of Laban, Asher Bikesh Lakor is a kol who wanted to destroy everything. For the cause of Im Lavan Garti, as it says, I dwelled with Lavan. I stayed until now. It also says Lavan Garti B'Taryag Mitzvah Shumarti. He doesn't write that here, but it says, I live with Laban, who was trying to destroy me. Nonetheless, I observed the complete Torah. Ach kan vayira Yaakov, here too Yaakov was fearful. Sheklipazu shel irav tov v'ra yakash b'yoter. This mixture of good and evil, not knowing the difference between one or the other, is the most difficult thing of pogas and it would attack both camps. Because great is the danger, the pagam, the defect, those who study Torah and serve God inwardly. What does this mean? Shasha Yehudi over Avera. If a Jew does a sin, if a Jew like this does a sin, he's giving a crown to the other side, to the Yetzer Hora. Avozu keter v'tinifos v'lichluch. This keter, this crown that he's giving, is a crown that is a disgusting crown. Ach misha osik b'torah v'avoda imachshavos ros harimusar b'zeh keter shel paz v'pnimim v'sitrach. Contrary to somebody who studies Torah, serves Torah well, but nonetheless has bad thoughts, he gives a crown of fine jewelry to the sitracher. In other words, he's drawing a distinction here between somebody who is studying Torah lishma, so to speak, and has only good intentions. When he does a sin, it gives a crown to the satan, to the sitracher, but the crown is a disgusting crown because he's not doing what he's doing full-heartedly, right? But the Jew who studies Torah outwardly and does the mitzvahs outwardly, but inwardly has an evil thoughts, inwardly is evil, the crown that he gives to the sitracher, to the satan, is a beautiful one. It's made of fine gold. That's the greatest defect. Kochel shel Yaakov, and the power of Yaakov, Hoya, Shahagvir es koach hatov al, that he was able to make the power of good overcome the power of bad. Even on the mixture where you couldn't really tell the difference between good and bad, he was able to make the power of good greater. As Esau's angel told him after the wrestling was over in the morning, he says, you have fought with God, Vanoshim, and with human beings, Vatukal, and you have prevailed. So the message of this Netivot Shalom is that we always have to be on our guard, and we have to be more on our guard to not be deceived by people who we think are doing good but really want to do us bad. We have to always be able to try to differentiate between the good and the bad, and not confuse them, and not mix up the good with the bad. And that's pretty hard to do sometimes, and that's why it says we won't really be able to totally do that until Mashiach comes again and restores the mind to be able to discern truly good from bad. And so the message to us is to never think that you're able to conquer everything. You've got to look at each thing, take each thing as a challenge, and face the challenge, and work work hard, and know that as you're working hard, as you're going up this ladder to have a closer relationship to God, the higher you climb, you have to recognize that the Yetzer Hara is going to be struggling hard to make you fall off that ladder. And as we learned last week, the most important thing is, even if you fall down a few rungs, stay on the ladder, stay the course. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I wish everybody a wonderful rest of the week. If you have any questions before I stop the recording, I will take them. Otherwise, I will stop the recording.